Okay, if we are recording, we are the Village of North Bennington Board of Trustees, October meeting, October 10th. There are people, Lori, for our clerk's edification, we have a list here that I will drop off for you, a list of in-person attendees. And then we also have a number of people on Zoom. So what we will do is we will just hold our normal meeting to the agenda that we have. There's one or two small topics to change. Thank you. If anyone has a question, please raise your hand. Tara will make note of the order of questions. We defer to if there are multiple people asking questions, we defer to the trustees first, then we go to the public. We also ask that if a member of the public has made a comment, that let someone else make a comment before you raise your hand a second time. Once we go around, certainly we intend for everybody to ask as many questions and fit them all in as they wish. The slight changes to the agenda under new business, we will add approving or discussing the approval of the Halloween parade. And we are adding in right after the highway report, the fire department in case there is any comments for that. And other than that, that's it. So let's start out by looking at our minutes of our Tuesday, September 12th meeting. There was a special meeting held. It was a executive session only, but there is a brief minutes of that meeting, October 12th. We can take them one at a time or both, depending on who would wish to make that motion.
I move the approval of the minutes of September 12th and the special meeting
Of October 2nd.
of October 2nd.
Yes. Correct. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing that, oh, thank you, that's seconded. Any questions, discussion? No. Matthew.
Is it possible to note that the rate or homestead tax rate that was mentioned in these minutes for North Bennington is incorrect?
Please, yes. So do you want to speak up on that one so we can make that correction?
Yeah, this was reported in the minutes as going from 1.56 to 1.9, well, actually almost 2. And that's incorrect. That was a mistake by I don't know who made that mistake exactly, but
it was an input error going from one column to the next column. So it didn't go out in any billings. It was right. Just as we were discussing it. It was prior to the tax bills.
Right. And the actual rate was 1.6 something.
Okay. 1.6. So let's make sure that Doug and Lori get together, make that correction before there are draft minutes posted.
Do you have that number right now or not?
Yep. If you like 2 seconds, I will tell you exactly what it is. It is 1.6090, and that is Homestead North Bennington.
Thank you.
6090.
That was the only mistake.
That was the only one. Yep.
And it's certainly the.
And the one for non-homestead is correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was just for discussion purposes. It did not go out on any billing.
Yeah. So then I presume your motion is we will accept those minutes of September 12th with the one correction and accept the minutes of Monday, October 2nd. Seconded?
Seconded.
Did you have another question?
No, I'm waiting to vote.
Oh, then if that is it, we are all approving.
Matt saying yes.
Matthew is approving, all here in approving, yes. Now, just in case, since we are on, if there is something to be done, and we are some here and some on Zoom, If we do not have a unanimous vote, our rules say we do a roll call vote. So let's just make sure if we do have a vote and it is not unanimous, someone reminds me of that. Okay. Next order then is reviewing the warrant and approving the payment of bills. Doug, please take this in any order you see fit.
Yep, first we'll do the payroll. Payroll, which is the October warrant, paying from September, normal 2-pay period, nothing out of the ordinary. Total on that warrant is $13,310.33.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay.
Do you want me to sign yours?
And I combined the late September and October warrant because both individually were not very large. Our September meeting was a little earlier, so that's why there was a late September warrant, and then the normal October warrant. Again, there's really nothing out of the ordinary on here. No large payments. The largest one is to Green Mountain Power for a little over $2,300. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but I don't think that there's anything else of note on the late September and October.
Approve it.
Well, let me make sure there's no questions from Matthew or Lori. No, no questions. Okay, motion has been made to approve,
Second?
seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that one's done.
And the only other thing that I'll report for the treasurer's report today is tax collection has begun. Tax billing and payment is due November the 10th. We'll be starting in-person hours at the depot next week. There'll be 2 days during the week and Saturdays. All those exact hours are posted on the depot door, the depot window, online, and in several other locations. Also, the phone number that is on the tax billing, which is the treasurer phone, if anybody has any questions, if they need to schedule a time outside of the posted hours, please just give me a call and I'll do my best to accommodate folks if they need to meet outside of those times. And unless there's any other questions, I told you I'd keep it brief tonight.
Any questions for Doug?
Oh, thank you.
No, okay. Next up, by the way, if anyone has come in and did not sign in, we would like to make sure that we.
Chief's doing it now. He's catching them all.
Oh, there you go. Saw that foot go out. Okay, Norm, highway report, if any?
Just wrapping up all our projects. Harlan Road was just paved, just recently, and, just getting everything wrapped up for winter. Winter's coming.
Well, we are moving right along.
Park Street was just graded.
Way,
Thank you.
way ahead.
Ready to roll for it.
Okay.
Great job on the culvert. Like it.
Since we are way ahead of time, fire department, anything you would like to add, talk about?
Yeah, what we have is, will be a standby at the firehouse for Gabby's study, Halloween, and just in case.
Oh, okay, okay. And then, well, we might as well add it in here that there was a request by Matthew Perry to approve the annual Halloween parade Sunday, October 29th at 3 p.m., lifting off at the post office, down Main Street around Pangea, the fountain back up Main, right onto Houghton to Lions Park, bonfire and refreshments. So
What was the time of day on that?
that is at 3 o'clock. But this is for the board to approve this.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve,
Second.
seconded. All in favor, if no questions? Aye, okay. We will let Mr.
I have
yes.
two small items about the firehouse.
Oh, I did put you on the agenda
Well,
for old business, but we have plenty of time, so if you'd like to do that now, go ahead while they're here.
There's to be service by West Oil on the 30th of October of the boiler. And the repairs that we talked about previously,
Uh-huh.
I made a report on it, which include cleaning up, replacing the
Slow meter.
thank you. And also cleaning up the combustion area on the face of it, and replacing the ductwork that comes out of the boiler and goes to the chimney thimble. And there's the overhead heater in the foyer entryway that needs to be looked at. Let's see if it may not get done. The second thing is that I have, we approved paying for a fee for an inspection by Darren Sharp of the chimney shaft to see if it's a candidate for using a metallized exhaust. And that's going to happen on the 3rd of November. I could have those dates reversed. But those two things are happening at the end of the month.
Okay,
That's my calendar. But I'm done. You don't have to
Okay.
wait for me to do that.
since we do have time, is there anything else that the members of the board would like addressed that is not on the agenda?
Just to thank Ray for his diligence in this heating of the firehouse. I think that's excellent.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, Darren Sharp's on the 30th, and the 3rd is when the boiler gets cold.
All right. Well, we are way ahead of time, but I believe we have everyone in attendance who needs to be here. So we would like to give an extremely warm welcome and thank you for your time to Mr. Stu Hurd, Town Manager, and Mr. Paul Doucette, Chief of the Bennington PD. Please, you are welcome to come join us at the table, and the floor is yours. And we, again, thank you for your time and look forward to hearing from you.
More chairs.
Do you have enough room in here for your papers and stuff?
I think so. I didn't bring a lot of papers.
Okay,
And I can't say that I fully understand everything we're supposed to get through tonight. But I understand we are here to talk a little bit about potential sharing of services, if any. What the town does for you for the general fund tax rate, and perhaps that's what we should talk about first. Basically, the North Bennington pays into the general fund tax. You have your own highway department and your own highway tax. And you have your own school taxes. That goes without saying. We provide general administrative services to the village, which includes storage and maintenance of all land records, storage and maintenance of visitors records and grand list values, all real estate transactions and permits. You folks report to us permits that change the assessment of values in North Bennington. We adjust our grand list and provide you back that information when you need it for your tax rate setting. We provide police protection. We are not necessarily required to do so. Your charter allows you to have your own police department, but we choose not to do that. So we provide police protection to you. And recreation services through the Bennington Recreation Center and our parks and other than that, I think you folks provide your own general fund tax and general fund services, which relates to the actions of the select board and what you folks do. We also provide, although it's not part of the general fund tax, municipal sewer services to the village of North Bennington. And we also support your recreation funding with a $6,000 appropriation on an annual basis. We also support Lake Perrin to the tune of $2,700 annually. And that's, in a nutshell, what you get.
Is there a way to, I guess, to put, how would I say it? A factor to, I don't know if, I don't have my tax bill with me, so I don't exactly know what that tax rate is. But is there a way to say, well, the North Bennington residents would pay X, and if you were in, say, Old Bennington, you would pay Y for the same thing? Or how does that work?
Well, it can be calculated. Basically, the general fund tax rate, which includes the villages of North Bennington, Old Bennington, and town, is based on a grand list value of $10.2 million. The Old Bennington grand list is a total of $316,900 something. North Bennington's grand list is $715,629. So the two villages are a very small percentage of the total grand list. And you pay for those services based on the amount of tax that the grand list, your individual grand list generates.
Okay,
So it's not an easy calculation, but for instance, our police department budget is approximately $4 million in that range. If I do the math correctly, and I'm doing this by hand, I'm not using a calculator, but North Bennington, based on your grand list value in comparison to the total, you're paying about $28,000 to $30,000 a year for police efforts from the town.
okay.
If I knew every one of your, Mary, you were kind enough to send me your budgets, but I'd have to break them out individually by each of those things. But I think the police department is one of our largest portions of our budget, and that gives you an idea of what you pay.
So is that in general the case that it's a proportional calculation?
Yes,
based on grand?
yes, it's based on grand list entirely.
Can everyone hear?
Could you just repeat the proportionality again?
Uh,
The grand list?
The North Bennington grand list is about $716,000. The overall total grand list of the town, which includes the village of North Bennington and Old Bennington, is $10.26 million. So you're a relatively small percentage of the total.
And then of the $4 million or so in Bennington Police Department budget, North Bennington is maybe 30,000,
Yes,
roughly speaking.
roughly speaking.
Okay. Proportional to our percentage of the grand list.
That's right.
Okay. Mr. Novak has a question.
I just want to shoot. This is a printout from the town clerk's office, basically saying that this is basically what we're paying total in taxes, North Bennington, right here. That's the figure you gave us, right? Please do that much. I'm not sure it's correct, but I got that from the town clerk's office. What it says that basically North Bennington pays $635,000 to Bennington.
Okay.
It's about 7%
That's correct.
for the services we do.
And again, this does break out where we have, the general, portion of that, which is the majority of the budget, but there are other services that are provided, local agreement, rural fire, inside fire, highway, and then the general that Stu mentioned is all of the other things in there. Are there other questions from the public before we move on? Are there?
Just clarity, I thought you said that the police department was $12 million.
$4 million.
$4 million, okay, and you got the use, come back to $4 million. Somehow I thought I heard $12 million.
Okay. Do we have any questions on Zoom? I don't want Zoom people to be forgotten.
Yep, hold on, I'm gonna unmute Matt. Matt, give me just a
Okay.
second here. All right, Matt, you should be able to unmute now.
Yeah, thank you. So it's my understanding that it used to be that we would, is there an echo?
There is a little bit, but we can hear you okay, Matt.
It used to be my understanding that we paid about 8% of the total budget to Bennington. And so if a $4 million budget, if it's proportioned, would mean that we're paying a significantly more amount to the police department than $40,000.
But we're not paying 40,000.
Actually, 28,000 is 7% of 4 million. So that seems
No.
appropriate.
No, our total amount that we paid to Bennington is 7 or 8 or 9% of their total budget. We are a village of 2,500 people, 2,000, whatever it is, portioned with the Bennington population. That number just does not ring right with me. I recall a number that we were paying, as much as $300,000, $300,000 to $400,000 to. Well, we should be. I mean, if their budget is $4 million for their police department, and we're 8% of their total taxation, that number doesn't work for me.
He's right. It would be 280.
Okay. But I don't know.
Right, I'm just saying, based on what he
It's
said.
a decimal point, if I made the error in the decimal point, then the 280, 28 and 280. I don't disagree with that. I'm doing it very quickly when I came in the door here tonight. But you're looking at a $715,000 grant list versus a $10.2 million grant list.
Okay.
It's a bit over 7%.
Yeah, there you go, 7%. I got my decimal point.
And 28,000 is 7% of the police budget that you just stated.
No.
I don't know the
No,
exact.
280 is.
280.
Add a zero, buddy.
Yeah, that's zero.
Okay.
280.
Okay. And that's where that goes here. So that is almost, well, not quite a half of that. What percentage of that is the two? Yes.
Yeah.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
You know, the $4 million budget, how much of that is actually spent, for the police department is actually spent on North Bennington issues?
It's hard to determine. That would be based on the amount of criminal activity we find in North Bennington, the amount of traffic enforcement we do here, whatever police department requirements are for the village. And I'm not sure that that's easy to track.
How much time does the police spend here?
I wouldn't know.
That'll be the next person we talk to.
You know, it is, I mean, it just, you know, I guess the big thing, the reason I showed up was because of, the enforcement of the speed limit in town. And, you know, if we're $280,000 of the budget, or at least, you know, it doesn't sound like we're probably getting $280,000 worth of stuff out of the police department.
Well, I would argue that police departments exist not for traffic enforcement necessarily, but for protection of the overall community. I live on a village street in the town of Bennington. I would rather see the police department on my street. Do I still pay into the police department fund? Yes, I do. I don't think that's a legitimate comparison, frankly.
Just as a reminder, are you gonna say it?
No, you,
Okay. As a reminder, just so that our clerk knows who's talking, because she really can't see you guys out there, say your name first before you speak so that she can write down who it is for our notes. Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to put that out to everyone.
I believe I saw a hand up, Mr. Goodrich.
This is Steve Goodrich, Lori. Stuart and I go back a long way. So, this has always been a bone of contention from the village. Back in the 90s, when I was on the board of trustees, we came on. We talked about this. It isn't a high crime rate. We totally agree, and we like that. The issue is the speed. Now, the police have come down on Madison Road rather than on Mechanic Street. Stay here, they got people running the stop sign. We have a good police department in this town. There's nobody here that doesn't think we have good officers. Young man said you slid through that sign, you didn't come to a full stop, so I'm going to give you a warning. And I said, totally understand. I totally do. But I said, when you see the chief, tell him the stop sign is not the problem. It's the speed coming down Mechanic Street. What scares, I think, all of us is somebody is really going to get hurt. And you said that enforcing the speed limit is not really your job. It is.
I didn't say that, Steve. I didn't say it wasn't her job, but it's not, I don't believe it's the primary effort of a police department.
No, but I think what we're trying to say to you is that this is the same thing that we go through about every cycle of trustees or whatever, where you come over and explain this to us. It is the speed. I mean, I have to tell you, my wife and I walk that road, Mary walks that road, you're in the ditch sometimes. They won't slow down. They won't move over anymore. What do we make on a traffic ticket? I mean, if you write a traffic ticket and you're 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, what is the ticket going to cost us?
Well, it's going to depend, and I'm prepared to get into all of that if you want me to start.
No, I'm just saying, what is a rough idea of the traffic ticket cost? I'm just saying it generates some money, because I've had traffic tickets.
Yeah, well, it used to generate money. It used to generate money. The village of Old Bennington, they've generated lots of revenue over the years by having an officer assigned in Old Bennington, but traffic tickets don't generate money like they used to. The town of Bennington itself has seen a huge decline in funds from the Judicial Bureau, as has the village of Old Bennington. People are not made to pay their fines like they used to. Whether it's a deputy sheriff or a Bennington police officer or a trooper, we can go out and write a ticket for $165, for example, for speeding. Someone can take it to court, and we have judges now that tell people that they can write a book report on why you shouldn't speed, and the ticket gets dismissed. We also see situations where fines are reduced to $50. If a fine is reduced to $50, you're lucky if you see $10. On that. So we have legislators now in this last legislative session that voted to put a law into effect. You don't have to pay your traffic ticket anymore. Your license doesn't go under suspension anymore for unpaid tickets. So it's hard to collect revenue. And if you think I'm joking with you, you can take the time and look it up. We're not holding people accountable in Vermont right now for unpaid traffic tickets. What we're doing is we're waiting about 75 days. We add $30 to the fine, not we, but the state, and tell the people that they owe this particular month. We give them an option for a payment plan. And if they don't pay it, allegedly we're going to hold people in contempt and bring them into the criminal court here in Bennington. You get to see that. So there's a lot going on about, how we hold people accountable. During COVID, there was not a lot of traffic enforcement. It didn't matter which agency you worked for. We were all told to slow down by the state. We were told to slow down traffic enforcement. So during COVID, over the last 2 years, there's been a lot of lawlessness, that's what I call it, with erratic driving, people speeding. When 279 opened, just as an example, we'll come out of Old Bennington and North Bennington and Bennington up on 279. We weren't catching people at 105 and 110 miles an hour. A good ticket up there used to be 75 or 80. Now we're catching people in excess of 100 miles an hour. Route 7, Route 279. And it's, you know, it's very frustrating, and I know that's not what all of you want to hear, but you need to look up the laws. You need to pay attention to what our local legislators are voting on. And I'm not here to criticize any of them, but you raise the question, what, you know, how much is this fine? You know, if you write somebody for doing 10 miles an hour with speed limit, the fine is $76. And
What is the fine going to be if it hits them? I'll tell you, sooner or later, that's going to happen here, and people are really going to be in trouble. Because it's going to happen on Mechanic Street. That is the on-ramp to 279, as far as I'm concerned, looking on that road. And it is, if you're talking, they're doing that, they're doing 55 and 60 on that road down through there. And the other day, here comes a school bus, and here comes a tractor trailer up there, neither one of them can move. I mean, it's getting so that I don't know what we do. If those are our local legislators, and they're doing that, you should tell us. That's not advocating. You should tell them, maybe we should put different people on.
well, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on that, but seriously, you can Google it and you can look that up. You're not required to pay your fines now. So,
Okay, Alyssa, you go first.
Alyssa Del Tufo, I live off of College Road in North Bennington. And so I feel like a lot of these questions that I think citizens of North Bennington have two levels, like what is the historic relationship financially between the two communities, and what's fair. Like, you know, they're sort of, in my mind, they're both in my mind. And I know there's history. I don't know if there's anything really written that describes what the sort of financial and administrative relationship is exactly. There probably is. But, you know, in the arena that, I looked at the Bennington budget today. I have it on my computer. And did a few calculations because, of course, I'm interested in recreation with my role as a parent. And it was, this wasn't the total budget, but I just calculated how much the village gets in its recreational apportionment compared just to the rec center, or I'm sorry, the recreation budget for Bennington. And we get less than 1% of the allocation for recreation, which, I mean, I don't know what to say about that, except it doesn't feel fair at all, especially since there is, people go back and forth all the time between the two communities, and I know from Lake Perrin that most of our guests are from Bennington. I don't know how to calculate that for other parts of this community, but it seems that there are the kind of micro level decisions about like how much should each aspect of the community be entitled to from the larger community of Bennington. But the other issues, if you do get granular and you look at some of the percentages of what we're getting back, it just doesn't seem fair at all. And recreation being the thing I'm particularly, although I am concerned about public safety as well, that's pretty dramatic lack of equity.
Well, can we clarify, Jeannie Jenkins?
Yes.
From North Bennington, and also share this upwards. Can we clarify, Bennington has its own recreation, and that the 6,000 that come in is not part of those general services. Is that correct? And Lake Perrin is private. So it's not included in that, and the money, that's Lake Perrin is a historic arrangement.
That's why I didn't mention it.
Yeah, well, you actually did, you were talking about the number.
I was thinking that the 6,000 is just.
So Stu, I'm just wondering if you can clarify the
Something on
recreation
our
piece of
budget
it.
that I can see that. Okay.
North Bennington, if I understand your budget correctly, Mary, North Bennington has a budget of about $24,500 annually for what's called public works.
Yes.
Which includes park maintenance, parks reserves, streetlights, which probably is not recreation, and parks revenue. The parks revenue received of your 24,000 budget, we pay $6,000 of it. And that's the percentage you should be looking at, Alyssa.
6,000, right?
6,000 versus 24. So we're paying a quarter of your budget from the town of Bennington.
A quarter of,
The
Our
North
parks
Bennington
budget.
budget for recreation.
yeah, but our parks budget would be bigger if we had more money. I mean, I think that's the point. But it's not like, I mean, if I have $10 to buy groceries, I'm gonna buy $10 worth of groceries. If I have $100 of groceries, I'm gonna buy $100 worth of groceries. It's a little bit of an unfair
Well,
comparison.
frankly, North Bennington has asked for $6,000 annually for probably the
Yes.
last
Yes.
5 to 10 years. That,
Well, I don't know, I mean, I'm not sure.
But this is,
how those-
yeah, the North Bennington budget for parks does not include Lake Perrin.
I know.
Okay, so what the villages provide, or excuse me, what the town of Bennington provides for the North Bennington, the village of North Bennington parks is substantial versus what the rest of the taxpayers in North Bennington pay for this. Now, that said, North Bennington taxpayers also pay for recreation in the town budget.
Right.
So,
and you have, the idea that you can segregate the village of North Bennington and its people from the town of Bennington, it boggles my mind. All of our recreation opportunities are available to the people of the village of North Bennington, equally to the people of Bennington.
Vice versa.
okay,
And vice
I'm,
versa.
And vice versa, yeah, I understand that, but I don't see how you can look at it and say, well, you know, your recreation budget is 2.5 million, ours is only 24,000, therefore we should get more from.
may I interject in the interest of time? Your comments are so noted,
Yeah.
but I think that is going a little bit, I think, to answer your question is not going to be done at this meeting.
I understand that too.
So noted.
I wasn't looking for an answer.
Okay, you just want to make the comment
Well, I
and
make the
so
comment
noted.
and just sort of point out that I
Okay.
think there's an equity issue.
Okay,
And
that
this
is so
This is one
noted.
example
Okay.
of an equity issue.
I do have a question. Chief Doucette, is there any sort of number of hours that police departments designate to certain things? Like, for instance, would they designate a certain number of hours to traffic enforcement?
Yeah, so let's talk about what happens in North Bennington.
Okay.
I know a lot of you are here about traffic enforcement, speeding, so on and so forth. There's a lot more to policing in Bennington than just simply traffic enforcement. But I want to just touch on a couple things. I have spent some time over here myself, knowing that we were coming here. You guys have an exorbitant amount of truck traffic, tractor trailer trucks coming through your village, especially in the mornings. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Tractor trailers, dump trucks, coming and going. And especially during commuter times, a lot of heavy traffic in North Bennington, no doubt about it. During the summer, there's a lot of weekend events over in Saratoga. I've spoken with some of you before about the motorcycles that come through North Bennington, with the loud mufflers, but there's more to it, right? There's not just a speeding problem in North Bennington. The police department participates in many events in North Bennington. Ed Myers was the fire chief for an extremely long period of time. And we had a wonderful working relationship with the fire department, and I think that we still do. You talked earlier about Cabbage Night and Halloween night. Gosh, we used to have 3 or 4 officers over here back in the day just waiting for trouble. And so there's more to it. I mean, you guys have parades in North Bennington that we participate in. We're always over at Lake Perrin, front and back. We're at the fishing access, patrolling. Most recently we were at First Day with our Copsicle trailer, which was a lot of fun. Matt Perry and the Vermont Arts Exchange were involved with him. We love Matt, and we think he's great. There's a lot of support for what goes on at Bennington College, on the properties there. Constantly checking the skate park or Lions Park. You know, as I mentioned, late check. So there's a lot more going on in North Bennington. And just because a police car drives through without blue lights on, doesn't mean that the officer's not doing some type of enforcement or checking for violations or just being seen in North Bennington for support. So, you know, I think it's important that we mention that. You know, speeding in traffic enforcement is just one of the many things that a law enforcement officer does. You all know that, you know, law enforcement nationwide has been criticized for the amount of traffic stops that we do. We're required to, you know, collect data now. And I would invite you at your next trustees meeting. The room's not as nearly as nice as this, but let's have a trustees meeting after January 1st, and let's take a look at the stats from 2023 as what we can produce for North Bennington. We'll put them up on the screen real time, and we can see, you know, what officers are doing. I think it's difficult to be able to sit here and say to you, oh, the Bennington Police Department spends 20 hours a week in North Bennington. Because that's simply not true. We're here on a regular basis. You know, the officers park, they wave to people, they get out, they talk to people. You know, we might spend 15 or 20 minutes talking to somebody on the backside of Lake Perrin about fishing or whatever. It's about community policing. And, you know, we're trying to get away from it. I was a big traffic guy, you know, years ago. We give our officers discretion. They can write the warnings or the tickets. We talked about warning versus ticket. And right now, the Bennington Police Department is probably 60-40, probably 60% traffic violations when we stop a vehicle and 40% warnings. It might be a little bit less than that. But there's a lot more. And we don't think of North Bennington as a different community. We don't think of Old Bennington as a different community. You know, we are one large community that the Bennington Police Department provides services to. We might not always be able to be over here because we are short-staffed. I mean, I can't think of an agency in Southern Vermont that isn't law enforcement agency that isn't short-staffed that could have some more staffing. Fortunately, we have 4 people at the academy right now, and in February we'll have 3 more going to the academy, which will leave us short 2. So we're gaining, at least I think we're gaining, and there's just so much more. And listen, I get it. I used to spend a lot of time on Mechanic Street. I used to spend a lot of time in your driveway on College Road, and it's a great place to sit. They changed the dynamics over by you, and it's not as easy to catch violators because they see us when they crest that little hill right there. When it was a big field, it was an awesome spot. But what we found was we're writing local people, educators that are going to Bennington College or coming back from Bennington College, or we're writing Bennington College students. And not that they shouldn't be written a ticket if they're committing a violation, but there's so much more. Coming over and working with the fire department, you know, assisting the rescue squad in North Bennington, Old Bennington. The officers are all, and the civilian staff, our professional staff, they're all going through training right now so that we can respond with the rescue squad. It's a certification through the state of Vermont. So there's just so much more. Coming over to North Bennington and spending almost an hour to free a child's hand from a door and taking the door off the hinges and all of these other things. People don't account for all of that. A lot of people think, well, if the police car blue lights aren't running, the police aren't doing anything. And then, gosh, if you have 2 police cars or a sheriff's department car and a Bennington police car parked side by side, oh, what are those officers doing? Oh, they're just BSing on the side of the road. No, we might be talking about how we want to approach something, or we might be talking about how we want to, you know, handle a situation, or who's going to, maybe the sheriff's department's going to go out into Shasper and run radar up off of Bank Street. I don't know. But there's a lot more to this than just wanting a police car to come into North Bennington and stop cars.
Okay.
Just a quick question, again, Kelly Donnelly, you know, down on Bank Street. What would it do to the tax rate if you could find a person that wanted to be a police officer for North Bennington and North Bennington alone, and would be part of your department, but is permanently stationed here?
Yeah,
What would it do, when it comes to a raise, such as my taxes per year? The village of Bennington.
So we actually, because this has been a topic for at least a year now, we've actually talked to the gentleman sitting right behind you, Mr. Gully, about what it would cost in order to cover a certain number of hours in the village. And that's something that we've addressed pretty in depth. I think the decision that was made was that we weren't sure the taxpayers wanted to pay as much as it would be in order to employ.
65, 70,000.
I was gonna say, I think it was around 70,000. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think for that would be in the neighborhood of 20 hours.
Yeah, I think it was 20. It was like something like 21 hours a month?
A week.
A week.
It was
Looking for an officer, I have no idea anymore, in salary, what does the average officer earn per year?
an officer starting with the Bennington Police Department runs through the academy makes $57,000 an hour. Oh, sorry, $57,000 a year.
You just got a lot of applicants.
Yeah, right?
When you throw in like, healthcare and all that.
Yeah, so I would be,
$8,000 a year, 90?
yeah, so what we would have to do is we could, I mean, I could do that for you tomorrow and get back to Mary. There's a lot of factors, right? So if I hire an individual who has a family, you're looking at about $24,000 a year for health insurance. Give or take, right? So, or if the officer is single, we're looking at about $9,000 a year for health insurance. So there would be a lot of factors. I can run in a few different ways. Mary, I'd be happy to share that with you.
And so you know, I'll let you follow up in just a second, and then Steve also had a comment. But when we get into our budgeting, starting in the next couple of weeks or the next month, we certainly can and will put together some figures as to what it would cost to hire out additional services, do more partnerships in various things with the town of Bennington, and or a sheriff's department. We can put these things together. The issue always is not that we don't want things or it's not a good idea, but it generally comes to who is going to pay it. With our 426 parcels, and 1/3 of which qualify for prebate, you know, I mean, you have to consider who is going to be paying for all of this. And
I'm sorry, just to find out how many tax bills go out.
426.
So that's not like that many.
No, but nevertheless, I think it is, the public should know, if we want to do A, B, or C, what will it cost? And know that there are possibly other measures that might not be as obvious as a policeman on every other corner. But if we invested in sidewalks or traffic tables or things like that, that maybe also have a more lasting effect than the few hours that somebody can be sitting there and watching. But I would appreciate getting together with both you and Stu and coming up with what would additional services be like. Tara.
And
then Steve.
I just want to jump in real quick. I did look up what we were discussing. Again, this was a loose calculation. So it would have been just over $72,000 annually for 20 to 21 hours per week. That would be the second largest single line item in the entire budget for the village of North Bennington, if that were to be added. So it would have a significant impact. Yeah, I don't have the exact calculation of what it would raise taxes, but like I said, just for discussion and to kind of put it in, it would be the second largest item if we were to move on that.
okay. And then, yeah,
And then Mr. Gully.
make a list.
Okay.
Okay, I think most of us, I could be wrong, but I think most of us understand how busy you guys are and what you actually do for our community, but thank you for describing that to us. I I think because this has been a topic of discussion on multiple occasions, we're looking for the quickest solution versus the most expensive solution versus the most economical. And while we've looked at traffic tables and traffic calming and all the things that we can do, and we're doing the paperwork to be able to know if we need a table here or a speed bump there, we just think that maybe traffic enforcement might help on the short term or even just a little bit longer. And what I think of is when I first moved here, and it was 17 years ago, apparently there was someone who did work here. There was a grant and we had hired someone and they pulled people over. And I noticed where there were people on Water Street, on Mechanic Street, wherever there were speed traps, I would notice them. And that changed my speeding. It made me go slower wherever I was. And now I'm older and I'm better, so be nice to me. But it did change just by seeing a police car on a corner. It made me say, I don't want to go fast here because I really don't want to get in trouble. And that psychological shift is what we're looking for on Mechanic Street, to people to say, okay, there could be a police officer hiding, so I should slow down. And in the past, like 10 years, I haven't seen many. And I see you guys doing things, I see you doing events, but I haven't seen speed traps. So that wariness or that alertness to the speed that I am traveling has shifted a little bit to not as concerned about it. And I think that's what we're seeing, especially with COVID and people forgetting how to people, that they're just doing whatever they want. And then of course there's the legislation that doesn't enforce it beyond what you guys are doing. That makes it hard for us. But I think, and Rob is kind of the spearhead for this, I think that we're looking for a shift from the police force, as well as all the other stuff that we're trying to do to change our community a little bit, to make it a little more safe. And I think you guys are the quickest solution versus the speed table that's gonna take us like 4 years to get at the rate we're going. I could be wrong.
We haven't
We haven't
budgeted
looked into
that
it,
in.
yeah.
I'd like to move to Mr. Goodrich.
I don't think we need a police officer here at 20 hours, 30 hours. I think we need 3 or 4, as Tara said. And all we have to do is position it in a place where we start catching it. I can tell you at times that you should be on Mechanic Street. You are welcome to use my driveway anytime you want, because I sit right in dead center. I think what she's saying is, if they feel there's a presence here, they're not going to do it. I realize they don't pay the fines, but they get points on their license when they're caught.
That is correct.
And every time those points go on that insurance policy, that policy goes up. The quickest way to get someone's attention is to get into their wallet, believe me. And I'm saying, I think that's all I'm asking you to do is, the stop sign was great, and you got results there because we always saw them pulled over. And I said to the young, it's the speed. They're gonna slow down a little bit there because they're not showing. But believe me, there's places you can hide there, and we'll gladly let you.
So let's go back to what was originally said. When you see enforcement, if you were to drive through North Bennington and you see someone pulled over, you have no idea why they were stopped, right? So that enforcement of the blue lights flashing, I understand what you're saying. But, and I don't want to go down into the rabbit hole, but this is great. But 3 years ago, when the IACP came into Bennington and chastised the Bennington Police Department for the number of traffic stops that we were making, people didn't jump up and say, we need traffic enforcement. We all kind of sat there and took it. So we've changed the way we do things a little bit, and not just North Bennington, not just Old Bennington, but residents in Bennington. Everyone's screaming for more traffic enforcement, and it's statewide. You can travel from one end of the state to the other and not see a law enforcement officer. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I understand what you're saying, and it's a point well taken. And if you remember the Honorable Westmore, he used to say to people, if the fine doesn't get you, the points will, right? And it's a point well taken.
Okay, we're gonna go to Tara, excuse me. We're gonna go to Tara
Real quick,
and then
just
we're gonna
following up
go
on
to
that. Even if I
Mr. Gully.
saw a car sitting on Water Street, even if he was eating lunch, I don't know that, right? Even if he just, you had a guy and you said, okay, you're gonna eat your lunch parked on Water Street, just facing the traffic, that would be enough for me to go, oh, I gotta slow down because that guy's right there and he's gonna get me. I don't care if he's doing that or not, but I'm gonna slow down because there's just that car there. No, not even with the blue lights on, that's scary enough. But just having cars sitting in various places can affect my psychology. And sorry, I have a psychological background, so
And
that's where
after
I'm
the meeting,
going.
we'll discuss speed trap versus
Okay.
traffic enforcement.
Sure.
Okay.
I want to go to Sheriff Belly. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. So just so that we're clear about the economics of the conversation, I do not have a budget, whereas the town of Bennington has a copious budget. We get approximately $250,000 from the county that runs our operation building per se. We have approximately $1.5 million operating expense. So I can't lean on the fact that I have monies coming in from communities. That doesn't exist. So in order for me to pay my staff well, which is a comparable cost of the municipalities, ranging in the factor of $30+ an hour with healthcare, I have to put forth a reasonable, effective means in order to build communities that we serve. So that's the reason why your price is so high. And I think from what I hear, from where I sit, is that your overall complaint is also you want to be heard. And I've been in this audience and I've listened to you for some time. And I've also gone above and beyond and had deputies of mine who are on special grants come and unfurl our flags, so to speak, and be here for you. So we will continue to do that. I'm glad to hear that there's a speeding issue on Mechanic Street that we can now address, and we will send a deputy there. Thank you.
Okay, I've got a couple of people waiting in line, and this is the order. We're going to go Steve Lennox, Rich Jorgensen, and back to Robert.
I was only on Sea Links College Road. That aside from collecting fines, the inconvenience of stopping something, oftentimes I'm going to guess your traffic is early in the morning, rush hour, or I see it in the morning and in the evening going both ways on Prospect and along College Road. I think the inconvenience of someone trying to get to work and having to wait 15 minutes while an officer issues them a very slow reminder that maybe they shouldn't go so fast. The money isn't important, but I think that I've lived out of state in a town where there are two adjoining towns, and you always slow up because they were always wanting to pull you over. And that's okay. I think, we don't want to live in a police state, no offense by the term, but I think people don't want to be in fear, but by the same token, I think when it comes to traffic, that's what they need to know is that there are eyes on the street and that you are here in some capacity. I think that's a huge thing.
Thank you. Rich Jorgensen.
My name is Rich Jorgensen. I'm actually a resident of the town of Shasbury, but my home is about 100 feet from the town line, the town of Bennington, the village of North Bennington. So, and I've lived on Bank Street, at 39 Bank Street for 36 years. I've attended many meetings with the town of Shasbury Select Board, and I would encourage the village trustees to confer with the town of Shasbury regarding a strategy that might involve law enforcement, working with the sheriff's department. It's my understanding in the past, it's been a struggle for the sheriff's department to meet their contracted hours in the town of Shasbury. Seemingly doing better with that. Our reinforcement Tara has said about presence. I've seen it occur on Bank Street when a sheriff has been on Bank Street in the past. Recently, many years past as well. People do slow down. There's at least 6 signs now in the Bank Street, Ox Avenue neighborhood, including Elm Street, a little further west, asking people to slow down. And it works some of the time, other times it doesn't. People have reported having been literally thrown off the road, out walking their dogs. So I know presence is a challenge for the departments. I understand that. And, we're looking for more of that, and maybe it's just those few hours, and that's what I've spoken to the Shaftesbury board about. A few hours here and there, not 20 hours a week necessarily. But the town is looking at how in their year budget to increase hours, whether the department has the ability, with its current staff, staffing to dedicate more to a presence that will help with what many of us feel is a quality of life issue, a significant safety issue. And as we hear more and more stories about people literally walking on the road and being forced to kind of dive into a ditch, it's happened on Bank Street, Parks Avenue, and Mechanic Street. It is obviously a pervasive problem, not just in our community, elsewhere in the state.
Thank you.
And beyond. So, working with the town of Shaftesbury, my perspective is seeing Bank Street as, an entry point to the village. Route 67 being an entry point to the village. People coming in, and for that matter, people exiting. So, collaboration with, Shaftesbury is important because how many people are coming.
Thank you. Tara and I just noted that.
We did.
So before
I have a question.
okay, I want
Am I,
to. Okay, but wait, okay,
You got
hold
someone
on, hold on.
online.
I just want to, I'm trying to keep track of everybody who wants
Robert
to say
had-
something. I know, but we also said that the Board of Trustees takes preference, so I'll let you go to your question, and the very next one is him, and I'll hold my comments, and then we're moving to Galen.
Okay. I'd like to follow up on Rich's point about, quality of life. And, there's a huge noise factor, and Robert Novak has also brought that up. There seem to be a lot of faulty mufflers, but then there's also like kids that go out and buy mufflers that are really loud that do not meet the code. For instance, I talked to the motor vehicle, he was the guy who just rewrote the motor vehicle code. This was about 5 years ago. And he said every vehicle has to comply with, their muffler has to comply with when the car was new. Otherwise, it's a defective or illegal equipment. So do you guys ever enforce noise? Because that's noise pollution is a big factor, I think.
It's a condition of vehicle violation.
Yes.
And I can run stats for you and tell you how many condition of vehicle violations we've written. I don't have access from here, but I can add something else.
No, I don't need the exact number.
No, but no, it is, it is an issue. People are supposed to follow what is in the inspection manual. We do find people with, they're not faulty mufflers, they're just noisy mufflers.
Right.
Before inspection, we've found that people have removed them and then put them back afterwards. It's just like people with tires that stick out beyond the wheel well. When they go for inspection, they put the stock tires on, then after the inspection, they take the stock tires off and put the oversized tires back on. There's just all these ways to beat the system. So, but I can certainly look that up for you.
Great, okay.
Thank you. Robert.
Okay, I just, Robert Novak. My experience has been so much in enforcement because I live in a town where the enforcement change happens overnight, literally overnight. But we can't do that here because it's a very different society. I wanted to say parenthetically that we have a spokesman here from Mechanic Street, but that's not the only streets. Sure, I mean, but we need people on. I think that sometimes last summer, summer ago, Mr. Chief Doucette, we went and spoke to him, a couple of us. And since then, I haven't really seen any improvement in the situation. The speeding on, I call Upper Main Street, that's where I live. And I think on Bank Streets too, because out of my back window on Main Street, I can hear traffic speeding down Bank Street. And so what I'd like to ask, I guess, in an email, I referred to this, and you said, this chief, that maybe we could get together in January, and you'd have some figures for us, and that would be great. But one of those figures I'd like to see, how many of the citations are for speeding, and where those speeding tickets were given. In North Bennington. That's all.
Okay. So before I move over to Galen, I just want to make a comment, perhaps in the minority, and perhaps none of you will like me after this, but as also a resident of Mechanic Street and a frequent walker and biker around here, I will say, and I acknowledge I am probably in the very minority, I do not feel unsafe. I do not feel that speeding is a major problem. I know people do, but I suspect that when somebody speeds, and if the speed limit is 35, it's 30, and somebody is going 36 or 37 or 38, I don't know if they're going to be stopped. Maybe they will. So I suspect there's some margin, and I know from biking and walking, somebody can come by me at 25, and I think, boy, that's really fast, because I can't run that fast. But anyway, I appreciate even though my view is minority, I appreciate that all of you are here speaking up and taking part in this, because it's just the right thing to do. So thank you. Galen.
Galen Road, North Bennington Variety. I live right behind the store on Route 67. Here for the speeding is one thing. The village did years ago plant a tree out there by the road. Pembroke's had a grant. They planted a tree. Apparently the tree canopy, if it's on both sides of the road, slows traffic substantially, because the amount of light or something. And I don't know if that's been carried any further.
Do you know, is that?
I think it was before.
Yeah, but trees on the road are something I always want Norm's opinion on.
That is a school of thought that did plant that tree for that reason. I've stated here with another gentleman, roads need sunlight. Trees rot roads. Roads are expensive. You know what I mean? It's a never ending, so it's never ending battle. Why didn't you plant a tree over the roof of your house? Because it ruins it, right? But there was that school of thought, and that is a published study that slows calming. It's a traffic calming.
Norm is correct. It is a traffic calming.
Yeah, okay. Galen, I'm also going to respond to it. I live on Park Street. It has a preserved canopy the majority of the length of it. And we also have a lot of speeders. It's mostly people that don't want to go down or up Water Street and get caught.
Yeah.
So they cut up here and they zip up, or it's late at night and I swear to God, they have a little drag race from the beginning to the end. I know that a lot of our walkers, and it's a very busy road for walking, dog walkers and runners and everyone. I know that a lot of them have been here at various meetings to voice that. So while trees are a traffic calming thing, I think Norm's point is valid that they do rot roads, but also it doesn't work here. Yeah.
I think we should budget for Norm to get another, or one of those traffic speed signs that we can move around.
We have one.
We have it in the budget.
It is.
It was by the store for a week. I haven't seen it anywhere.
By the post office.
By the post office now.
Yeah, it moves.
Unfortunately, I don't get out that much. But I'd also like to thank the police department for their diligence in the traffic stops. The officers park in the parking lot of the store and be kind of camouflaged quite often. And I've had customers, complain, and I'm like, they're not here because you're buying beer, and they drink beer too. Your grandkid riding his bike here, and they're going to get the guy that's going 50 miles an hour by the store. So, but I also don't understand. I've been waiting a month and a half for a call back on shoplifting, which I know you guys are, overstaffed and we're busy that day. I was told somebody coming in later. I don't want to
be in a position, and if they don't have enough man hours, maybe we should look at hiring a sheriff as well to help cover things like that, where you can't get a response or you can't get any action taken.
Something we could consider when we discuss budgeting. Okay, I've got two people in line, but I've deferred to Ray first.
Okay, so the budget discussion for the police department earlier, one question occurs to me. How much of your budget do you allocate to traffic?
The budget itself, there's not a specific line for traffic enforcement.
But that's more an operational question.
So the operation of the police department budget, staffing wise, we should have 27 officers, which we could divide up a little bit easier if I was at full staff. I will share with you, not to divert away from your question. A couple months ago, we switched to some of the staff, about 2/3 of this current staff, to 12-hour shifts so that we could provide more coverage. And that seems to be working a little bit better. And as I said, hopefully once we graduate 4 candidates from the academy, after an FTO process, that'll be 4 additional officers and 3 more to go to the academy in February. As we continue to build the department staffing back up. But as far as saying this amount of money is allocated for traffic enforcement, we don't have that. Like Sheriff Gully mentioned, we do have grant funding available. I've talked with Mary about that, and the Bennington Police Department did very well this year, and we are considering using some of that traffic enforcement money that we received from the state to do additional patrols here in North Bennington. That money is supposed to be allocated for high crash areas and areas that are having issues with traffic involvement. So, we do, as I said, we do spend a lot of time on 279, Route 67, North Bennington, and things like that. So to give you a specific dollar amount, I don't have a specific dollar amount.
I didn't ask for a specific dollar amount. I'm more interested in, because it's not just North Bennington that has this problem, it's also Old Bennington and it's Bennington in general at the rush hour times. So my question is, how do you staff for those particular times in terms of allocating resources to slowing the traffic down?
Okay, so right now, as I said, we're trying a 12-hour shift. The officers start at 5 p.m. And they go home at 5 a.m. And then we have officers in at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then the next slate of officers starts at 7 in the morning and works till 5 p.m.
Okay, now let me follow up quickly here.
Okay.
How many officers do you have that staff, say, 7 a.m. to 9 and 4:30 to, or whatever the rush hour is? I don't often know what the rush hour is around, like I'm on Benmont Avenue with my shop, so, but say 4:30 to 6 to throw in monitoring traffic and having a presence of police cars, and either not ticketing, but ticketing in some cases, but just presence on the roads that or travel as commuter routes at those particular times heavily. In North Bennington, they'd be Main Street, 67A, Mechanic Street, Park Street, because the people that go around that as a shortcut. And I don't know what else, but those are the main ones I can think of right now.
Harrington.
Yeah, Barrington Road. So that would be my question about what resources are available at those points in time in order to provide some presence to slow people down and to enforce the law as necessary to generate a response. And I don't think that's just our question, our problem. it's the whole area's problem because Bennington has commuters coming in from all directions. And North Bennington is just one pathway to get into Bennington.
So the short answer is 3. There are 3 officers on duty. That's minimum staffing. On a rare occasion, team 2 of the 12-hour shift will have 4 officers.
Right.
So the short answer is 3.
Okay.
To cover Bennington, North Bennington, Old Bennington.
Yep. And I had a personal experience with the traffic incident on Northside Drive when there was heavy traffic. Someone hit the car behind me and that ended up hitting me. And that, the police were there within minutes because the muffler guy called them, and the EMTs were there even faster, even though no one was injured. But they interviewed us. I thought that was incredible speed with which that was handled, and the road was cleared, and traffic started moving again. I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Is your ideal number 6, like to have on a shift?
Our ideal number would be to have 4 or 5.
4 or 5,
Yeah.
okay. Because you said you're getting 4 in the training right now, and potentially you would like to
3
have
and
2
then hire 2
more.
more.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Do we have any questions or anyone on Zoom that has a hand up? I don't
As of
think
now,
we-
no.
Yeah,
Anyone that's listening on Zoom, if you have a question, you can type your name into the chat and I can allow you to unmute. If not, feel free to continue to listen.
Or you can raise your hand.
Yes.
Or you can use the
Okay.
raise hand option.
So then the order of questions we have here, we have Alyssa and Kim. Pardon? Yes.
Alyssa, yep.
Alyssa Delta, this is really a good curiosity with how the 2 communities work together. And so I'm just wondering, are personnel and equipment, material things sort of fungible back and forth? Like, for example, if we wanted another slow down sign, like the LED, and Bennington had one, would we be able to borrow that?
We don't have such arrangements now, but that's not to say that we could not come up with other types of partnerships. There's a cost to them, but we could. And there are some great benefits to doing some additional partnerships.
So I'm just wondering whether that exists at this point. Like if we needed a different, I don't know, normally the piece of equipment that we didn't have that they had, could we?
We
So I don't know.
actually, I think the highway department, our public works department and your highway department work very, very well together. And in times of need, we'll assist Norm. And if we need his assistance, he's always been there, ready and willing to do so. So that happens without any formal.
But more like ongoing, like if there were, I don't know, I'm just kind of making this up, but it just is something that I was curious about, sort of looking at the budget and thinking about whether there were other ways to collaborate, cooperate that wouldn't cost anything necessarily, because the thing was already big.
Well, I do think that there could be ways, and again, not that we're gonna get into too much tonight, or certainly not solve or make any decisions about, but I do think that it would be wise at some point to discuss some more formalized partnerships that can happen, because, well, I'll just say, I believe that there are some great benefits to be had with that.
Can I ask or say something too?
Yes.
There was a moment, like our road grader was down for a little while, and we had discussed the option of like collaborating with Shaftesbury on like renting theirs and what it would cost. I think it was Shaftesbury, and what it would cost to do it as many times as we ever need it, because we only have a limited number of dirt roads and they have quite a few. And in that instance, you know, it came to us to decide whether to fix our road grader, which was a significant cost, buy a new one, bigger cost, or rent from them. And it was decided to fix our road grader because that was the best of the choices. But like the option was there, and it's like a shared thing, but it's a shared thing with a cost. And then the street sign or the speed sign that we got, that was a discussion we had as well. I don't think the other municipalities have a lot that they can share, because if they have one or two, they're using them all the time.
Yeah, I don't know what the full.
Yeah.
Monty.
Yeah, but it has been discussed, so that is something we've discussed in the past about whether it would be worth it to rent it from the other town or whether just to fix our own. And Norm does an amazing job of finding us deals. So we're pretty well stocked.
Kim?
In October.
Excuse me, for the record, Kim Hall, clerk, or Lori.
I think she's keeping up.
Okay.
In October of last year, we had a meeting at the Carriage House with BCRC. And they said they were going to do a traffic calming study. It is now 12 months later, and I don't believe we've received anything. And they have a municipal planning grant of ours to fund that.
I don't believe they have a municipal planning grant for us. If they do, I never knew about it. But I will say that.
Well, let's chat.
Okay, let's chat about that, because I will say that Norm and I have gotten, the traffic, what do you call it, where the
Traffic studies.
the traffic studies, we've gotten them. And, with all the projects that we're going through this summer, that's just kind of gotten pushed along the back, but once
Well, we've gotten data, I mean, for the amount of traffic.
Yes.
And speed that's
Yes.
going.
But
That's
not,
not the report.
yes, I agree with you. We thought we were gonna get a report. I will follow up, because that may be that I misunderstood what we were gonna get. But I thought we were gonna get a report that would say, here are various things you can do. Here's the pros and cons of having this option versus that option.
We came up with lots of ideas. I sent more ideas to them.
You are right, Kim. We can follow up on that. And I will do so.
Is anyone from BCRC here?
No.
I'm the DCRC.
Oh, yes.
I'm not the DCRC staff.
And it's your time to speak anyway.
So, my name is Vicky on the Canyon Street. I'd like to offer both law enforcement agencies full access to my driveway anytime I like Canyon Street. So, I think what we're really looking at here, rather than specifically saying someone's going too fast because they're going too fast, we're really trying to reduce risk. And I think we can see risk in a number of different ways. There is certainly a risk to pedestrians if somebody is speeding. That risk to pedestrians is reduced if somebody is speeding, but that person is on the sidewalk. That person is crossing the road, that risk is increased. Now, in front of the library, I believe Norm had installed that fantastic button that you push, yellow lights start flashing in each direction. That's a huge signal. Something is happening here, you better slow down. That reduces risk. So, when I leave my house on Mechanic Street and I go down the hill at some points, the sunlight is directly in my eyes, there's a huge glare, and I can be going very slowly, but there's still a huge risk, because I can't see who may be on the side of the road. In fact, I set my phone up on the dashboard one time, and as I was going downhill, I can send you a video, it's incredible the glare. That I could be going 20 miles an hour, and it's still dangerous, that's the point, because there's no sidewalk. So overall risk reduction, taking a look at different parts of the town, may have different solutions. On Mechanic Street, sidewalks, let's say from the downtown to Frederick Street, would be a huge risk reduction. On Harrington Road or Park Street, that really wouldn't work. I mean, we were just talking about people going too fast. The only way to reduce risk is to get them to slow down. Streetscaping, as Leon said, sometimes overhanging trees can reduce speed. Signage saying, welcome to our little village of North Bennington. If I'm coming into New York and I'm going somewhere, let's say Brattleboro, and I'm going to go by Mechanic Street, I don't know that there's law enforcement likely to be there. There's no deterrence factor. So other factors are being brought into account to create overall risk reduction. Let's think about it from a larger global perspective. The law enforcement has a great role to play. Deterring crime, deterring speeders, responding to crime. But that only works for a small percentage of the people who already know that that is a risk for them.
I would just like to let's take time and think about from more global perspective. How do we reduce risk in the village? Absolutely, law enforcement is a crucial role to play. Let's think of the other roles as well.
Totally agree. Thank you so much for that comment.
I make a brief comment. I thought that we ought to have more of those crossing signage with the flashing lights and put them at all the entrances to the village so that people, and then have a campaign to persuade people to actually use them. Push the button, even though, because I think that would help slow down if the citizenry and children in particular would use those buttons in order to force people to heed the light, stop, and let them cross. I think it would have a salutary effect. I don't know how big that would be.
Okay, so next is.
The next one, yes, we're back to Robert.
Just quickly, I just wanted to piggyback on that. Was it Ken Paul?
Kim Hall.
I have mentioned before. I was going to ask you, because very much talk about the town-wide study, and you said that it had happened, we got some results or evaluation, and grant money might be looked up.
I think what I was talking about is to me, it would be a huge dream to apply for and be awarded a municipal planning grant. Because to have a professional planner come in and look at what is in our 2 square miles, what are our assets, how are they best used, how do we address the prime concerns of the citizenry, which is risk reduction, et cetera. And then once that is done, then you are in line for grants to implement those findings.
So my question is, where are we on that? Is there?
I have not heard when the next one is opening up. Okay, hold on. We're going to Jenny next. You said Jenny had a question? Yeah. We go to Jenny next and then we're back.
Hello, I'm Jenny Rosicki, I'm I live at 88 Mechanic Street, right here in the village. So, what I've seen in the, 7 or 8 years since we moved to the village is a village that is struggling to deal with development in a lot of ways. We've had a lot of new families come through, even like the technology. Like the trucking app literally sends truckers right through North Bennington. That's why they're there. It's telling them that's the most efficient route, and they're just doing their jobs. These are people who don't know the area necessarily. It's just, turn right here. That's something that's hidden that a lot of folks don't know about, that's directing people through the village. And I think what we're also seeing is changing expectations for what people expect in a small village. And we've had a lot of folks moving from New York, from Massachusetts. There are sidewalks, there are places for pedestrians to be that are not the road. And I think that's the changing expectation that people may have for life in the village. And I think some of the structural stuff I've seen firsthand. So I'm the director of the McCullough Library down here, and a few years ago we took out some of the bushes that were around the building, and a very large tree that's on the corner. The tree was on the outs, but I can't tell you how many times I've heard tires squealing because drivers were not able to see around that corner, and how much less often I hear it now. So there are structural changes that can also be put into play that help keep our neighbors safe. Not just enforcing into good behavior, but what are the structures that are present that will encourage better behavior? So.
Thank you, Jenny. Well said. Sir.
Okay, first off, I didn't think about that. You're right. No, truckers I use taps. And, you know, it's kind of funny, we moved out to Burlington, and up there, no one could run Smuggler's Notch. Every year, some tractor trailer would get stuck in there. Because you can't get through. But I guess my question was, the light is down near the library, you push the button, how much did that cost? I mean, that's perfect. And I live right near School Street, and the kids that cross there, and there should be one there.
So Norm just answered that. It was about 7,000.
It's more than I would have thought, but still, I mean, it's great, because, you know, it does stop traffic. And I know on Bank Street where I am, well, there's the other day, there's a little 3-year-old riding on the side of the road, no parents, cars swinging by. All I can think of is one wrong move and that girl is gone.
We are about at the time that we had designated for this. We actually went a little bit over the time, but I don't want to cut off good conversation. If someone has a question on a topic that is germane but has not been asked, I think we are coming, as Tara said, this is kind of a natural conclusion to this. I think we all agree that Dana said it best. We need to look at risk reduction. We need to perhaps do an inventory street by street of what would be best. And then let's not forget, what can we do to increase our partnerships with the town, with the sheriff, with Shaftesbury, with other people, so that we're not all trying to solve the same problem individually. And some things are going to take a little bit longer to do than others.
Matt had something to say.
I'm going to stop talking because Matthew has something to say. Matthew.
Can he unmute himself?
Hold on just a second, Matt.
Oh.
We took away the right to unmute.
Oh. Well, while Matthew is coming on.
Okay, there you go, Matt. You should be good.
I'd like to bring up back to talking with Stu. I mean, we have Stu and the chief there, and my numbers are that, you know, we pay $280,000, and I think that's conservative towards the police department. And I understand and I get that there's many problems that are much more severe in Bennington. So what would be the number we could expect in terms of our investment to the broader community that would that you would think that we deserve in our tax assessment to Bennington for police protection?
Did you want an answer?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I do want an answer. So we spend 280, maybe 300,000 towards the police budget, community-wide. And I'm thinking, well, all right, cut that in half, you know, $140,000 worth of coverage or police service to this community. I think that's being generous. Does that mean we could have one police officer dedicated to the North Bennington community full time?
I think that so Matt, it's Paul. I think that, you know, this is a conversation that we can sit down, we can run numbers, we can look at them. You know, the Bennington Police Department is available to North Bennington residents 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We do work weekends, obviously. We work all the holidays, and the service is here if you need us. No different than paying for a fire department. we can invest all sorts of money into a fire department or a rescue squad, and we're here if you need us, and we're here to be proactive when time permits. And I did the math. I mean, it works out to be about $31 an hour that North Bennington pays for law enforcement coverage. That pays for people, it pays for vehicles, it pays for maintenance, and uniforms and equipment and everything that goes along with it. And I think that if you heard me earlier, I'm more than happy to sit down with Mary and others and figure out what it would cost to put somebody here dedicated. And I'll give you all the numbers, what it would cost to put somebody here 24/7, 365. And I think the cost will scare you, but we are always here. There's always 3 officers on, and we make sure that we spend time in North Bennington, Old Bennington, and you're right, Bennington does have a serious problem. Bennington's much larger than the 2.0 square miles of North Bennington, but we still find time to come over here, Matt, and make sure that things are taken care of to the best of our abilities. Things are improving, but I will put those numbers together and share them with Mary and whoever wants to see them. I think Sheriff Gully made his point, and the fact that he could put someone over here 20 to 21 hours a week for whatever it was, $70,000. I'm happy to put these numbers together and share them.
I appreciate that. So what you're saying is that the sheriff department can put someone here 40 hours a week for 140,000, which we already pay, by the way, to Bennington. So I'm
Sure, and I'm not going to debate that. 40 hours a week. That's 5 days, 5 8-hour shifts. What are we going to do the other 12 hours a day?
I get it. No, I welcome that conversation, and I appreciate y'all being here tonight. Thank you.
I'm going to take one more question since Mr. Jorgensen had his hand up. And then, Stu, if you have anything else you would like to say, you will have the last word. Rich.
Just quickly, if the relocation of the miner that's on Upper Main Street, the post office, is to be considered, I would recommend that it be placed on Bank Street at the town line, because that'll slow people coming into the village. Because people currently are flowing into the village, coming across the track, and Galen can attest to this, and coming to a screeching halt at the stop sign. So that might be a good location. And
thank you.
Slow that traffic that comes in from Shasta.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that observation. And Norm tries his best to move that you don't want to move it every week, but we move it around when we can. Thank you so much for all of your attendance. Thank you especially Stu and Chief Doucette and Sheriff Gully for coming.
So Mary,
yes.
if I can add just one
yes.
thing. Number 4 on my list today was talking about Shasbury and speed enforcement. I did not bring that up. It's not a dart at any other agency, but we could use some help with the traffic that's coming out of Shasbury and slowing people down before they hit North Bennington. It goes North Bennington, Shasbury, New York. We go the other way, it's North Bennington into Shasbury. We know that flat right there, people rip through there all the time. I'm happy to email Lieutenant Coote at the Shasbury Barracks and tell him about this meeting. Obviously, Sheriff Gully is here, he knows that, but we could use some help there and get people slowed down before they enter the village.
Well, I think we will keep this conversation going among us. Those of us who live here and even people who wish to make comments, we welcome your thoughts and opinions. Any questions can be emailed to info@villagenorthbennington.org. Norm is a pretty easy guy to get a hold of if you have a certain suggestion. And I think as we get into our budgeting sessions and our think sessions, we would invite you to come and take part in those as well. So thank you ever so much for all of your participation.
Just ride more horses around town.
Let
us slow them down.
You want to entertain a motion?
I would, no, I just want to make sure, wait, we had,
Thank you.
those of us on the board, hold on, those of us on this board need to stay. We still have one other piece of business to attend
Have it
to.
beyond the.
It is, no, it is just the old business. Well, we'll put the new business in discussing ordinance 13.
Need me?
We do not. Thank you so much for your time. This meeting is still in session, so those of you who are exiting, please do so quietly. We'll give you a few minutes. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you. All right. I'm not sure we're gonna get this back in session. Okay.
Do you want me to bang the gavel?
Yes. Okay, so board.
Ladies and gentlemen, our meeting is still going. If you could take any discussion you need to have outside.
No, I am going to propose to the board here that we delay discussion of ordinance 13 for one more month. Well, maybe we don't need to. People are quieting down. So Matthew had requested a discussion. There had been a suggestion that we take a look at ordinance 13, which is discharge of firearms. There had been a suggestion to do some rewording to that. Matthew, this was on at your request, so if you would like to start off this section, please do.
Thank you for that. I think it's really important that the village consider this, I'm sorry, I'm trying to create the echo, get the echo off, but,
It's okay, man.
it's critical that the trustees look at this ordinance suggestion, regarding, discharge of firearms in the village. And I think that what was proposed by citizens that are affected by this, now, and in the future, but this is untenable, and I think we need to change the ordinance to be more reflective of what other communities in our vicinity have done, which speaks to the safety and to the well-being and, of our community. And I appreciate the work that Joe and Alyssa have done with their neighbors. And I would urge the planning commission to consider this change.
You were involved in ordinances before, and I would have to go back and refresh my memory and read the law again.
As it's written.
Because there is a process for doing ordinances, and I have no disagreement with the language that was presented personally, but I think that we just now need to know what refresh ourselves with what the process is.
Yeah. My first thing is, I don't know if it's something we want to put before STASNY, because.
Well, that's what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah, because I don't know if what we're proposing usurps or complies with state and federal things. I know that we're allowed to make our own rules, but I want to make sure that the wording is correct and that everything really is kosher before we try and push it forward, because I don't want someone to be able to argue it. just because of
It
the
should be,
technicality.
it should be an easy review, and I would agree with that.
And then the process is, again, you have to warn a meeting about it, you have to have the discussion about it, you adopt it, and then it has 45 days, 45 to 60 days, I can't remember which, for appeal, if anyone has any
Has to be,
discussion.
I know it has to be published in the newspaper.
It has to be, yeah, it has to be posted, but we have to go through the process of like warning meetings
Yes.
specific to that, and then discussion,
Okay.
and then present, and yeah. So there's a few stages to it.
Okay.
But if we are thinking about that, I think we have to do that at the next meeting to adopt it.
Okay,
Yeah.
you had a,
I had a quick
and then you
question.
had a question.
How would this affect our relationship with the Bennington ordinances?
Oh, that is a good
Well,
point.
actually, what we have originally was the Bennington ordinance.
Yeah.
I know the town is looking at redoing some of their ordinances, but I don't know if ordinance 13, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought
Discharge of
Jonah told me
firearms.
that some of your ordinances are being revised,
Not that one.
not that one. So,
Although that's not to say that we might not.
yeah, but that, right, but that said, when our ordinances are properly adopted, and there's the second word for it, there's two words for it. But once it is enacted, then a copy of this binder, this whole binder, it was given to Bennington PD, and then Bennington enforces whatever is in this ordinance.
And then they
And
throw.
that would remain even if our ordinance changed.
I was just gonna ask for confirmation that if North Bennington has a different ordinance than Bennington.
Yes.
The Bennington police would still have to honor the North Bennington ordinance.
They indeed would do so, and Jeannie could confirm.
In theory.
This is, Matt began by addressing this to the planning commission. It's my understanding that this is not a planning commission issue, this is an ordinance issue, which is
That is,
separate jurisdiction within.
I believe that is the case. That would be my understanding, but Matthew is more experienced than I, so if he.
No,
Yeah.
I think most of the planning commission code is for the built environment and all the rules of engagement within that, as opposed to
doing ordinances.
If you want to play loud music at 3 o'clock in the morning, the ordinance for that is not part of the planning commission's jurisdiction. So I want to make sure that.
Okay. Well, I will confirm that with Matthew. He's got much more experience on this.
Who's speaking now?
Steve
Lennox. That was Steve Lennox,
Oh.
member of the planning commission.
Thank you, Steve. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's an ordinance. For sure. I really don't.
It is an ordinance, and Jeannie Jenkins is confirming that, at least for the town of Bennington, that ordinances are not the jurisdiction of the planning commission, but of the board of trustees or the select board.
Great. That makes it easier, right? So I'm asking.
And that is in fact, go ahead, Matthew.
I'm asking that the board approve a change in an ordinance that obviously will have to go through the various
Steps. So
procedures.
now we have to warn it for a public hearing. I don't know that this was warned. Was that in the?
It was.
agenda?
Was in the agenda.
Okay, so maybe this was. You're gonna say no?
I am going to say that unless we think this is a high priority, I don't want to delay things unnecessarily, but I would prefer to make sure that we have a specific ordinance. I mean, we have a specific agenda with the wording of the ordinance included,
Okay.
of the proposed changes. And know that in the next month or two, we have an enormous amount of work to do with budgeting. This should not, this ordinance business should not take an undue amount of time, but let's make sure we can do both things if we think that they're equally important. And we will, Tara and I can get together and confirm the step-by-step process of what needs to be done. We can put together a proposed timeline and make sure that we can get that back to this body and get everything we need done so that it can be included in the November meeting.
And we can show it to Stasny before then.
And we will do that.
Yeah,
Is that,
I definitely think it has to go to Stasny because
The wording.
this last clause, which states, which poses the final thing that's not precluded by this ordinance, which poses an immediate threat to any person or person, sounds like a standard ground law. And threat is undefined there. So.
okay.
Well, the previous ordinance would have allowed you to do anything you want.
Right.
Well, I'm reading the previous ordinance and I don't think it did allow you to do anything you want.
But it also is layered on top of state and federal law.
Right. All right, let's get that all figured out.
But let's figure it out because if citizens band together and wish to be heard, then we need to hear them.
That's all I want to do.
Okay, I agree.
So it'll be on the agenda for
Okay,
next month?
we'll work on that.
Yep.
Okay, any other discussion that is not on the agenda?
I'd just like to say something about what you're
Yeah, okay, hold on, let's make sure that we know.
Joe
Churchirillo.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's our understanding that the town of but the language in the town of Shasbury has would work.
Is this that's proposed?
Well, no, we have, I mean, I don't know, let's look at it, it's different than the Bennington one.
Okay.
And it seemed like it's already done.
Right.
For Shasbury. So it's possible that work is kind of done.
It may be, but I think it's not an undue burden for us to run this by the village attorney and just have that sense of comfort here.
Well, I saw it. It's interesting that the Shasbury one is more stringent than the Bennington one.
Okay, well, community by community gets
The
to,
Shasbury one says the firing or discharge of a firearm is prohibited within the village center and village residential zoning districts.
which is what this is saying.
As defined by,
Yeah.
But that's the only thing in there with the exemptions of termination of animals and.
Right, but I think from our point of view, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
I said, in North Bennington, it doesn't specify that you can't shoot in a residential area. It specifies that you can't shoot if you don't have 500 feet, which is then, the police, it says 500 feet from anything.
Yeah.
But according to the police,
It wasn't.
If you're standing.
It wasn't your own
front
house.
door,
Yeah.
and you have 500 feet, so it's not anything, it's just not anything you don't know.
Yeah.
So it becomes like very fuzzy, whereas in the one in Shasbury, it says you can't shoot the residential area.
Are you guys village residential? VR?
Okay, so I think we will just do what I think we are in agreement that we will have this looked at. We will follow the steps prescribed for appealing or revising an ordinance, and we will go forward with that. I think we're agreed. Okay. Is there any other business, or shall we entertain a motion? We are 5 minutes ahead of schedule, folks. Ray has a motion to adjourn.
Matt is seconding.
Matt is seconding, all in,
You are
excuse me. Mr. Goodrich has one.
Go over an executive session.
Oh,
So we have executive session?
Mr. Goodrich has an
Okay.
executive session, so
We're
we,
going to move into executive session. I
We
make a
have an
motion
Executive session listed on our.
we had if needed.
if needed, yeah.
I did not know it was.
Okay, so we are moving into, wait, we didn't vote for it.
No.
I move. Okay, all in favor?
Aye. We are in executive session.
Okay, so
Thank you, all members of the public.